So the third item that we're looking at is sugar and salt and how they affect our health. We looked at grease, oil and fats. We looked at refined processed foods. Now we're coming to sugar and salt, and specifically sugar is a very addictive substance, probably more addictive than what we realize. We all have a sweet tooth, so we all struggle with this one. And I've done some research, especially on sugary drinks that we all love. And just listen to this. Sprite, for example, a 330 ml can of Sprite has 6 teaspoons of sugar. Coke, 330 ml, has 7 teaspoons of sugar. Fanta, surprisingly, has more sugar than Coke, 8 teaspoons of sugar. And Fanta Grape has the most at 9 teaspoons of sugar. Now, the World Health Organization tells us that for a man, 9 teaspoons of sugar a day is more than enough.
Wow. So
And
you can have a Fanta Grape.
that's it for the day, nothing else, according to the World Health Organization. For women, it is at 6 teaspoons of sugar. So women can afford 1 Sprite and that's it, no other sugar. But sugar is hidden everywhere.
Yeah, so I wouldn't recommend that Sprite or that Fanta Grape. I wouldn't recommend it at all because there are other things. Yes, as you say, hidden sugars. There are other ways that people are going to get sugar into their bodies without even realizing. So rather stay away from drinks and from eats where you know they are full of sugar.
The recommendation is to limit your added sugar intake to no more than 40 grams a day. One of the best ways to understand sugar grams is by doing a simple calculation, which is as follows. Take the grams of sugar and divide it by 4. So for example, 40 grams of sugar divided by 4 equals 10. The number you get when you divide by 4 is the number of teaspoons of sugar that you're consuming. So a typical can of soda has about 36 grams of sugar. Divided by 4, you get 9. That means that a typical can of soda has 9 teaspoons of sugar.
All right. Surprisingly, May, is a McDonald's milkshake. May, can you guess how many teaspoons of sugar in a McDonald's milkshake?
I have no idea.
An whopping, absolute whopping 28 teaspoons of sugar in a McDonald's milkshake. A Snicker bar.
I used to love those.
A large Snicker bar, 13 teaspoons of sugar.
Wow. Yeah.
May,
shocking.
it's all around us. It's in our cereals to start the day with. It's in our cereals. I went down an aisle, a cereal or breakfast aisle one day and could hardly find a breakfast cereal, a box without sugar.
Yeah, I believe you. Yeah, it looks like the sweets aisle. More
Correct.
like a sweets aisle, or
Correct.
the candy aisle.
What do we do? What's the big issue of sugar on the health?
Well, sugar, like we said, sugar, in all these ways that it comes into the bodies, it's usually packaged in refined foods. So it's going to have the same challenges as if any other refined carb on the diet. We're going to fill our blood vessels with sugar, and it's going to affect every organ in the body because the blood flows to every organ in the body. So get sugar into your blood and you've got sugar problems all over. It also has serious effects on the brain as well. I think you will talk more about that later.
Right. Let's just continue with the soft drinks. Let's look at the South African setting here. According to an article that I read, and the quote says the following: consumption of soft drinks has risen more than 68% from 55 liters in 1999 to around 93 liters per person per year in 2012. So one person in South Africa consumes about 93 liters of soft drinks per year. According to Dr. Furman May, he says the following: sugar-laden drinks increase the worst type of fat on our bodies. Connection between soft drinks, especially high sugar diet, and overweight or obesity?
Well, I can believe that. If you just look at a place like Mexico, for example, Mexico is right now number 1 in obesity in the world. And in Mexico, people eat high sugar diets there. An example, and you were talking about sugar-laden drinks, Coke is almost freely available to the people in Mexico. Even in some schools, they have no running water, but they have Coca-Cola. People can have access to Coca-Cola for very, very cheap. So everybody just drinks and drinks all these sugar-laden drinks.
LeMay, let's look at sugar and the brain. I have come across an interesting study that was done that compares sugar and cocaine and its effect that it has on the brain. A famous university conducted this study to test what sugar-addicted mice would do when presented with cocaine or sugar. You will not believe the outcome. The sugar-addicted mice, even when presented with cocaine, still preferred the sugar.
Wow.
They became more addicted to sugar than to cocaine, resulting then in more sugar required. And the reason why is because they needed that dopamine level to spike.
Wow, I can believe that. When we look at our kids, we can see that there's always requirement for sugar, sugar, sugar. Children love sugar and they just want more and more. I guess, when the pleasure center of the brain is fed, it grows and it wants more and more. It overrides reason and it just wants more and more. So, yeah, I can believe it.
Maybe another piece of information that is especially good for parents who are very interested in the academic achievement of their children is the following study that speaks about brain-derived neurotrophic factor and brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And this brain-derived neurotrophic factor is responsible, 1, for creating new long-term memories, 2, responsible for learning, and 3, for higher order thinking.
Right.
Now, diets high in sugars reduces the growth of BDNF and make it hard for adults and children to learn new things. 80% of our food choices contain sugar. So you can understand how sugar negatively affects brain development, negatively affects learning, higher order thinking, and creating long-term memories. I remember, when you cram, everything goes short-term, and that transition of information from short-term to long-term, it's like there's a break in the chain.
Yeah, it'll really be hard for that to happen if a lot of sugar is present
in the
body.
diet.
Yeah, I've experienced it in my own life. I don't know if you have, but when I eat a lot of sugary foods and I find that I struggle to study, I struggle to memorize,
Focus,
and to remember
concentrate.
things. Absolutely, absolutely. It really does affect the brain.
So just to sum up again for parents to understand that a high sugar diet is a break in that link to help children to engage in higher order thinking. It does affect their learning process, specifically their transition from short-term to long-term memory. So let us be cautious and let us be selective, especially from breakfast right through to supper. Read the labels, make sure that we can begin to minimize and eliminate as far as possible sugar in the diet.
I think another word of caution to parents, our bodies do need sugar, so we do need to have a certain amount of sugar in the diet, but our sugar should come from fruit, our sugar should come from whole grains.
All right.
And then if we're having these sugars in our body, these are much safer, they're good for the brain, very good for all areas of the body.
Yes. Just to continue on the reading of labels, it is so confusing for all of us these days when we go to the supermarket, we read the labels, there's so much that we don't understand. We've prepared a list of hidden names and forms of sugar that we probably did not know that this is sugar.
In fact, some of them could look quite healthy, so we assume
The
it's
first
healthy.
one sounds very healthy, agave nectar. The second one, barley malt,
Yeah.
brown rice syrup. And we think brown rice, and so syrup is healthy, but that's just a hidden name to confuse the consumer and think that it is healthy, but really it is not. Brown sugar is really just white sugar that is browned by using molasses.
That's right.
And we think that brown sugar is a healthier sugar, which really is not the case. Cane juice, crystals. That's just another hidden form of sugar. Cane sugar, caramel, corn syrup solids, dextrose, fructose, fruit juice concentrate. And we oftentimes think it's fruit juice concentrate. It's just another name for sugar. That it's said that sugar is so concentrated in that fruit that it is detrimental to the health. Glucose itself, golden syrup, grape sugar. Here's the big one, May. High fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
Long name, and it is abbreviated with HFCS. Parents, please be
Watch
aware.
out for that.
HFCS, high fructose corn syrup.
Very dangerous to the health.
It is probably, well, it is talked about as one of the most dangerous forms of sugar in our products, and it's virtually found almost everywhere. Be cautious, be smart, read your labels carefully. Next is raw sugar, refiner's syrup, and sucrose. So these are all hidden names and forms of sugar that the consumer is oftentimes not aware of. And ignorantly, we allow our families and our children to eat these things, and we don't realize how disease is beginning to build in the bodies.
Yes, absolutely. When you talk about disease, sugar lowers the immune system. So if there's a flu virus going around and you've just consumed 3 ice creams for the day with caramel topping or chocolate topping, you're in line for that virus. If you meet someone that has the problem, your immune system is very suppressed,
Yes.
and you will
Yes.
probably get the...
Maybe you don't even need to eat 3 ice creams. You just need to have a box cereal that's full of sugar.
Absolutely.
Then you have peanut butter that has lots of sugar in it. Then a juice that we think
Liquid
it
fruit,
does not even need to be Fanta or one of those soft drinks. It can be a juice that is concentrated,
Yes.
and the sugar level is so high. And then bread has got sugar in, so much sugar is in there. And we're not even at lunchtime yet, and you already exceeded your
sugar limit
allowed
for the day.
of sugar for the day, correct?
Yes, and doctors even advise some parents, especially parents with children who have ADHD, doctors often advise them that if you're going to give your child 100% fruit juice, dilute it 50-50.
With water?
Absolutely, because at least that reduces the sugar a whole lot. Fruit juice is very high in sugar.
Well, when we speak about liquid intake, we referred earlier on to the sugary drinks and the cans. And it's interesting that water's got 0 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
You can't find anything healthier than water.
Everything that comes from the Creator comes to us, and it's perfect for the body. It's perfect for circulation. It's perfect to revive and to get the body into the right pH level.
So the question that we probably have in our minds is, what now? We've seen all these hidden names and for the different kinds of sugars in our diets. What then do we do? Are there any naturally healthy sweeteners that we can use?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you just look around for the colors, when I enter the grocery store, I always go to the fruit and vegetable section, and right there's plenty of fruit that we can make fruit salad. We can add the fruit to our cereal. Like if you make a big bowl of oats in the morning, you can add some fruit salad in there. You can also add raisins or dates. Just chop them up nicely, add them to your cereal.
Okay, May, so you are saying there's fruit, there's raisins, there's dates. I believe that date sugar, it's not very common in the supermarkets, but if our viewers can look for date sugar, it is the healthiest
The
sugar
absolute
that
healthiest.
you can find. Honey and stevia not so common. Honey is a bit pricey, but honey is better than sugar.
Better if the honey is raw honey, better if you know that it's from a good source, because nowadays many times the honey is refined and they add sugar to the honey, and they add water and sugar so that it can go further. So there's a lot going on with our food. We need to be really careful.
Careful.
Yeah.
Great. We are going to have a look now, May, we spoke about the grease, the fat, the oil in the diets. We spoke about the refined and processed foods and how harmful it is. We've spoken about the sugar. We have not spoken about salt much.
No, we didn't.
Probably just a few words on salt is, you have a saying about the cook or the mother in the kitchen and the salt shaker.
Yeah. Well, I just believe that whatever salt the mother cooks with, that should be enough. When the food is brought to the table, it should not be accompanied by the salt shaker. Because, people get into this habit of just using salt, whether they need it or not. Some people, before they even taste the food, they just add salt. And even some other condiments which are high in salt.
Right,
And
like
salt
for
is
example, salad
damaging
dressings.
to- Salad dressings, yes.
Commercial salad dressings that we buy in the
Commercial
shops,
salad dressings.
highly
Even your-
salt.
Yes, very high in salt. Even your pickles and gherkins and whatever pickles you're using, all very, very high in salt.
Yes.
Even your pickled onions and so on.
So our intention is not to make things worse for our viewers, but it is just to pass on information to you that you become a wise shopper and an intelligent eater, that you need to know what is in your products that you buy from the supermarket, and as much as you can, minimize the salt intake. Be aware of the salt that is in all these different products, especially your salad dressings, especially your canned stuff.
Yes.
Also have a lot of salt in it to preserve whatever's in the can.
Yeah.
So just be aware of it, so that if you develop these issues, that you know where you should cut out, where you should minimize. May salt, sugar, processed, refined. There's a lot of talks these days about inflammatory food.